To order the regular board meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. I'm the chairperson, and with me today is Commissioner William Cressy.
Present.
And Commissioner Jonathan Swain.
Present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any suggestions? If not, we have several minutes. I think we can take them all in one motion. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meetings of November 10th, November 24th, December 8th, and December 22nd, 2020?
So moved, Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded, Commissioner Cressy.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is the Executive Director's Report. Mr. Holliday.
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. On Friday, we extended the RFP for the audit due to lack of response. So I met with Zena Nadich of Equip for Equality to discuss our partnership for voting access in Chicago. Along with Sandra Sparrow and the Assistant Director and our ADA team here, we met with Patrick Johnson of the Department of Justice on where we are with being in compliance with accessibility of polling place, discuss if needed an extension for the November 22 deadline. We also met with Phoebe Novich, Barry of Equip for Equality, along with Patrick from the DOJ's office, about the update of the survey platform tool that we are using to survey polling places. We had a great discussion on that. On today, I will be attending a webinar hosted by the International Association of Government Officials, IGO, on the impact of the HR1 and S1 bills. Lance is present. He has some details on that. Would you like to share that with us, Lance?
Yes, thank you, Charles. I sent copies of the summation of HR1 and S1 to all the board members and and Adam, I think it sent it to you also. Just to let you know that this is one of the few bills that since I've been with the board, has Congress reached out to actual election officials. They reached out through different organizations, through IGO and through the Election Center. And we had 2 virtual meetings with Congress to go over HR1. And, you know, when I first got the bill, they sent me the bill. It was all 700 plus pages. And we sat down, and over several weeks' time, we went over and came up with a summation that looks pretty good. So I sent it to the board members to get your comments. If there's anything else that you see that you feel that is wrong or that needs to be brought up, please let me know. I'm having another meeting. I've been working with the Brennan Center and the disability groups on the parts of HR1 that needs to be updated. But it's really gone very well, and I'm very pleased with all the work that everybody has put into. This is not a fly-by-night bill. It really makes sense, and as we talk about voter suppression, we need to make sure that we have ammunition to take care of our most vulnerable people that are our voters.
Okay. Great.
And lastly, on last Friday, the Assistant Director, Sandra Sparrow, and we took a ride out to our warehouse to take a tour of the different floors, just to look at the condition of the space. There was some leaking there and how equipment was moved around. And she and we're going to briefly sit down, and we're going to reach out to the managers about some of the storage retention at the warehouse. So that ends my report.
Are there any questions?
Just one comment, Lance, let's keep in touch with this. I've been working, as you know, I'm on the ABA's Standing Committee on Election Law. We're working on a resolution for their upcoming annual meeting. So there's a lot of commonality there. So we'll be in touch. Okay.
You got it. Not a problem. I'll stay in touch, Commissioner.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. And now we'll hear from Sandra Espera, our Assistant Executive Director.
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. I'm continuing to work with HR to staff open positions. The position for my, can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
okay. The position for my former, the posting for my former position closed last Friday with 4 internal candidates. We had no external candidates applied. I am also helping Charles as he works with finance to create and implement guidelines to the procedures. I'm also continuing to work with managers on developing a organizational succession plan. I am also working with several managers to target division inefficiencies. I held an introductory meeting with the team of SNS regarding the poll books, as well as taking the opportunity to introduce myself as a new AD. And that is that for now.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, Trish, we have two callers. Trish?
There are 2 callers. Would you please identify yourself, please? Those that have just dialed in. I'm sorry, Danielle? Thank you.
Yes, Neil Matsor, thank you.
And I'm Don Olson.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Okay. We have on the agenda communications report, but I don't think we have that at this time, do we?
No, Madam Chair, we don't have one.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration, including voting equipment. Mr. Holliday, anything new there?
Nothing new, Madam Chair.
And how about electronic poll books? Anything to update us on?
Nothing to update on until possibly next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. And the next item is legislation. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Last time we had a meeting, I had been informed by the State Board that we should be prepared. There might not be any state legislation for election matters until towards the end of the year. But since that last meeting, there's been a fast-track bill, House Bill 1871, has now passed both houses and is awaiting signature by the governor. So we do expect that to become law. It will allow for curbside voting during early voting as an optional program. It would also allow for postage-free return of vote-by-mail envelopes, which Chicago has already done for as long as I can remember. And would also allow for vote-by-mail drop boxes. So that's something that we can now kind of hang our hats on and prepare for the November 2022 elections. Mr. Goff did do a great summary that he sent us on the HR1 and the Senate-related Senate bill, which I had been looking through the 700 pages to summarize myself. So all of a sudden, this was a great plan. As we discussed last time, there are many options, many portions of that federal legislation that the state of Illinois already has in place. For example, online voter registration requirements, automatic voter registration, same-day voter registration. So Illinois is already in a very good position, and not a lot of changes would happen here, even if this big federal bill becomes a national standard. Then there are some changes. We'd have to allow people to register to vote as young as 16 and hold them in abeyance until they're 18. And just a couple other highlights that would be at least minor changes for our administration of elections. Signature verification on vote-by-mail envelopes. It would be required that if there are any election officials or judges making comparisons of signatures on the vote by mail envelopes, they would have to have some training in the signature verification process. The Chicago board has provided some of that, but we would have to monitor what the federal standards might be to make sure that we would comply with that. Also, there's a provision in there that would require states to allow a voter to deliver a mail-in ballot to any polling place during the voting period, both early voting and election day. Now, we had in this last election, we had our drop boxes for vote by mail at all of our early voting sites, so that would not be a change. But allowing them to be returned at a precinct would be a change. Used to work that way a long time ago in Illinois. We would have to figure out a way to try to stop voter confusion about having two different drop boxes in this. We would have two different ballot boxes in the same precinct, one for vote by mail, one for precinct ballots.
Excuse me, Adam, just to let you
Yes.
know, that part of the bill is getting a huge pushback from everybody around the state, the United States.
Well, yeah, I'm
about
kind of glad
having,
to hear that, just because
voters
it does
just go to
cause a
any
lot
polling
of,
place and drop it off.
yeah, it causes a lot of administrative hassles and voter confusion, as we've seen in the past. So
Right.
there's a reason that Illinois used to have those provisions many years ago, but got rid of them. So anyway, those are just some of the highlights I've noticed of matters that would change things a little bit for us here in Chicago. But also, again, I just want to point out that we all in the state of Illinois need to be proud of what our legislature has already done a long time ago in creating very good laws here in the state of Illinois. That's my legislative report.
Okay.
Question? Yeah, question, Adam. With respect to the state legislation, I just wanted to clarify, if we wanted to leave the early voting sites open on election day, we'd still have to go to court to do that?
That there so far, and I just confirmed yesterday with Angela Ryan at the State Board of Elections, neither of us have seen any bills that would allow for the early voting sites to remain open on election day or any other universal sites on election day.
Okay.
So I do believe that would be something that would then require a court order. And there may, I think that even in a general election, even without a COVID pandemic, there still, as we have seen with 2,069 precincts, there's always going to be some issues that arise that are beyond our control, and they're going to happen in the very days leading up to the election. An interesting thing about the federal bill is it would require you to send out notice of any changes in polling places at least 7 days before an election. It really begs the question, though, what happens when we have a private polling place proprietor who pulls out 2 days before the election? Are we just not allowed to provide a location for those voters, or do we still do the best we can? This board, of course, has a tradition that we'll go and in the middle of the night, if we have to, we'll put letters in people's mailboxes, and we'll post notices all over the precinct to tell them where to go to a new location. And I think we all agree it's better to make an effort like that than to do nothing at all.
Right.
But under the state legislation, you're correct, Commissioner, there's nothing yet that would allow for voting sites as that safety net on election day that we've seen to be so valuable in the last two elections.
And have you seen anything in the court orders with respect to the last two times we were allowed to have early voting sites open? Any indications to what the standard was? Was there a standard given by the judge to say, here's what to kind of justify my ruling on this, or was it just kind of an order to keep it open?
Well, first of all, let's clarify, we needed the court order from March of 2022, but then the legislature provided it.
Okay, so going back to March.
Going back to March, there were standards set, but I think the standards were based on the fact that there was a health pandemic. We were in the midst of having polling places dropping off left and right in the days leading up to the election. And I think that was the standard that was set back then, is that it was an order that was provided because of the complications caused by the pandemic. So on the one hand, of course, we all want the pandemic to be done, and we all want those complications to go away. But if they do, it then would be questionable as to whether we would be able to obtain the same kind of court order, as a preventative safety measure that works so well. We've got evidence of problems that even happen on election day. One of the greatest things of November for having the early voting sites open was that one precinct where the sprinkler system went off in the middle of the day, and we had to evacuate that location and send people just a couple blocks down to the nearest early voting site.
Right. Ergo my point. and you're saying there's no method, there's no means by us to be able to try to encourage someone to introduce to amend legislation at this point to allow for EV being open on election day?
Well, we've pushed it already, and we can continue to push it. We've had very detailed conversations with legislative leaders and the State Board of Elections, and it's also something that we know other larger, at least, election authorities throughout the state have pushed for. We know we've been joined in that effort by DuPage County, the Cook County Clerk's Office, by Lake County.
Yeah, only thing that I'm suggesting is that we might want to give a push to the state board or whoever, based on your best estimation, about this particular piece, because if it's not allowed by the legislation and the court order in March used the overhang of a global pandemic as and I'd argue that the global pandemic in the early stages as well. If we're not, you know, and knock on wood, we'll never have this again, at least in our lifetime. But I think we need to be a little more proactive about that, since it is such an essential part of creating voting flexibility for the next primary, whenever that is, especially when you're talking about right after redistricting and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, if the commissioners would like, I wasn't in touch as recently as yesterday with Angela Ryan from the State Board on the issue. I could attend the next actual State Board of Election Commissioners meeting and just provide some public comment from Chicago as to how we believe that it's a safety net that would be valuable to us in every election. We don't want to mandate it throughout the state, because we understand smaller jurisdictions really might not have that need at all. They wouldn't benefit from it. But I'd be happy to do that if the commissioners would like.
Adam, it seems to me that taking that example from the November 2020 election would rise to some emergency, would allow us some relief. The whole that whole precinct having to close down. I guess the question is and we could go to court. The question is you know, can we it might be very costly, but keep the early voting sites on standby and not open them unless, or not open one unless there's an emergency in a particular precinct like we had. But then again, that can be very expensive to man each of those early voting sites. I don't know if there's a middle ground there, but maybe we could explore that, because I don't think that the state is going to move forward on this. But we can use the courts in a true emergency and have the backup ready and available.
That's certainly an option, and it's worth exploring. And I think that what state leadership really needs to understand is that in these past two elections, when we had our early voting sites open, it turned out that they were utilized heavily by voters, not just voters where a precinct was shut down, but it is shown to be a tremendous convenience to a lot of people. And Illinois has a wonderful history of being a state that tries to make voting as easy and accessible as possible. And so, you know, I think we just need to keep showing all the evidence we have for why this is a good idea, even in a non-pandemic year. Now we've had these two elections that really do show it's not just, it's a tremendous safety net for a precinct that has to close.
Exactly.
But it's also a tremendous convenience for everyone in the city, just because, hey, it might be easier for them to vote 2 blocks away from their office than 2 blocks away from their home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally
We've seen
agree.
that now. Yeah.
But we have to work with what we've got, and so let's Charles, I would appreciate if you would explore that. Like I said, I don't know if we could have these early voting sites on standby with maybe a skeleton crew, and you know, but be there and available on election day. You know, but
Okay, we
something
could do that. Yeah, we could do that, Madam Chair, and I'll get back to you on that. I think Lance and I was just speaking on that, so I will get with Lance and we will discuss it and come up with something, and we'll let you know. We'll get
Okay.
back to you.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Mhm.
Madam Chair, if I could, a couple of things, Adam. First of all, if you could, or you and Charles could get some numbers on the number of people voting at the early voting sites on election day, these past two elections, and, you know, make pretty graphs and stuff, that goes big with legislators. The prettier the better. Also, any news, Adam, anything new on the automatic voter registration? I know they were having problems rolling that out. Has that been rolled out yet?
I haven't heard any news on that in quite a while. It was last I heard it was tied to, you know, driver's license issues, and I'm sort of assuming that because I haven't heard news, hopefully that means that there hasn't been any news. I will look into it for the next meeting and follow up with you on it.
And thirdly, I noted that in HR 1 and S1, Congress is calling for early voting of 15 days before Election Day. Illinois, and we don't need to go into the history of it, we now are at 40 days when we're still litigating who's going to be on the ballot. Any talk in Springfield or elsewhere to see if we could get it more in line with what the feds are talking about?
Well, Illinois has the option of starting early voting 40 days prior, and then it still has the requirement that that same 15-day period that's in the federal bill, we are required to do our early voting for at least those 15 days before the election. So again, I didn't mention that as a change for us in Illinois because we already have a 15-day mandated early voting period. And with the 40-day period, it seems like it's going to stick. Legislators have been made well aware of how particularly it just absolutely impossible it is during the consolidated election cycle when there's not even 40 days between the elections.
Right.
So clearly it can't always work, but I think that there's just an agreement that because it's an optional start 40 days, that the election authorities will take their option and open as early as they can. Of course,
And
we
we'll just
have
leave the 40-day number in the books and see what happens.
that
Okay.
seems to be the attitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if we have no further questions, we'll proceed with new business. And the first item is the approval of to exercise a one-year option to extend the agreement with J.J. Collins for printing and mailing of household pre-election material. Who can speak to this?
I could start, Madam Chair. I think the communications director that's in a vacancy at the moment would usually discuss this because this is a company that helps with the preparation and the mailing of the board's household mailing, annual household mailing. Also, our procurement officer, Opal Walls, last year in early February did a procurement process, did a bidding process to obtain this vendor for these purposes. The staff has been very pleased with their performance. The contract allows for 2 different extensions of up to a year each, and so here we're requesting the first extension so that we can lock in those same rates for the 2021 mailings in advance of the March 2022 primary election.
Okay, and we have used J.J. Collins for this for many, many years, I think. And
They
been always
do, yes, they do tend to come in as the lowest responsible bidder. And since we know that they've done a very fine job for us, we've been pleased to have them always come in at the low rate. That's why we'd like to continue it on for the next year.
Okay. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the contract renewal for the 2021 household mailings with J.J. Collins for the preparation, printing, and mailing of the board's household mailings in the year 2021 and prior to the March 2022 primary election for an amount not to exceed $70,500 for the renewed term of the contract the term of which will be March 30th, 2021 through March 29th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of a professional services agreement for artistic services with Jane Ignacio.
Madam Chair, if I may, I can at least start the conversation on this. Jane Ignacio is also someone who has been working for the board for quite a while in regards to mailings, publications, forms, internal forms and external forms. She's a graphic artist and designer. Staff has informed me that she's extremely prompt in returning products. She's very thorough, and she, does the designing for the Judge of Election Handbook, which in my opinion is sharp and crisp and looks really great on a national standard. Might even set the national standard. So her contract is exempt from bidding purposes because it's valued at less than $100,000 for less than a year. And due to the past performance, the staff is requesting another agreement with her for the upcoming election cycle.
Okay.
And also, Madam Chair, a lot of the forms have to be updated, and she designs, and that's what we're looking for her to do now, so we can start updating those forms.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the agreement for graphic services with Jane Ignacio for the term April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022 at the rate of $85 per hour, not to exceed $95,000 over the term of this agreement?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes and the agreement is approved. Next item on the agenda is the legal report. Mr. Lasker?
Not really much to report in terms of legal matters, other than that we were notified of a lawsuit since our last board meeting here, and I'll be requesting an executive session towards the end of today's meeting.
Okay, thank you. So we'll proceed with the financial reports. We have several balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago 2020 appropriation number 2008 dated March 30th, 2021 in the amount of $3,879,695.54. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. Next is a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago 2021 appropriation number 21-01 dated March 30th, 2021 in the amount of $589,922.61. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Next is a balance sheet and voucher listing for the County of Cook 2020 appropriation number 20-08 dated March 30th, 2021 in the amount of $5,201,103.21. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. The last one is a balance sheet and voucher listing for the County of Cook 2021 appropriation number 21-01 dated March 30th, 2021 in the amount of $81,763.22. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Cressy.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is public comment. Trish,
We have not received any requests for public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. Adam Lasker, do we have a need for executive session?
Yes, I would like to discuss that pending litigation
Okay,
as
so,
permitted by the Open Meetings Act.
okay, is there a motion to enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Second,
Second by Commissioner Swain.
all moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. So we will now move into executive session. We will not take any votes or in executive session. Then we will return back to open session and we will bring everyone back in. We're back in open session. There was no action that was taken in executive session and formal action that was taken in executive session. And at this point, there being no further business before the board, is there a motion to adjourn to our next scheduled meeting on April the 13th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Second? You're muted, Commissioner Swain.
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Okay, probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy
Aye.
votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes and we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elaine, you've got your